Welcome to the Six Fix Podcast. I'm Digit Murphy, your host, your president, your head coach, your jack of all trades for the Toronto Six. I am here with Emily Fluke, one of our forwards, one of our studs, one of our veterans in the NWHL. She's awesome. And we are coming to you today early. It's 8 a.m. This is the testament to who Emily Fluke is. She's up early. She's up and at 'em. Emily, welcome to the show. Oh, I forgot one thing. Our socials. Follow us on our socials. Twitter, at the Toronto Six. Insta, at the Toronto Six. Facebook, at the Toronto Six. And TikTok, at the Toronto Six. Okay, got all that out of the way. Flukey, what up? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Didge. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I like that you're in the mountains. In the mountains.
As I told you, I was trying to get the T6 background, but I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, we're gonna figure that out.
I got my T6 shirt on though. Don't worry.
Yeah, baby. Yes, we need the T6 repping. You're repping the brand.
Always.
We're loving it.
Running around Boston with my T6 gear.
I know, right? Like, you're in Boston. Like, how awful is that to be in Boston when you play for Toronto, right? You must feel like one of those Bruins players that gets traded to Toronto, right? So talk about that trade thing. Like, we're going to get back to your, like, what you do for a living and everything, but let's segue into the trade thing right away and why you played for the Six and some of the programs that you played for. I know you played for the Whale, you played for the Six, you've been all over the place. So just talk a little about your journey.
Yeah, sure. So I went to Middlebury College. And I knew, pretty much right after I graduated, I wasn't ready to be done, but there wasn't anywhere to go. So the NWHL started right after I graduated, like the first year, and I had no idea. So, the NWHL started, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, there's a place to play after you graduate. I've got to get involved in this. So, took a year off and just sort of was like, took a year off and like didn't know about the league. Then the following year I was like, all right, I got to train. Like, this league is legit. I really, I've got to get back in shape. I've had a year off. So the second year just sort of trained, worked with a couple trainers in Boston, Jimmy Michaels, Doug Michaels. They did all my skating training, which was awesome. And just went to like a free agent tryout in Boston and got picked up for the Whale. So spent 2 awesome years with the Connecticut Whale, loved my time there. And then just sort of work-life balance. I was commuting down to Connecticut. It's like 3 hours each way. Obviously spent some time in Connecticut, but had to go back and forth for, work, and that was just taking a toll. So, reached out to the Boston team, was fortunate to get to play for them for a year. And then, we had a great season, 23-1, and they made the decision not to take me back. So I was like, look, I'm not done. I want to play. Like, I just came off the best career season I've ever had. Like, come on. So, we didn't get to play the Cup. We were set to play Minnesota in Boston, home game. Fans were ready to go, and unfortunately, COVID hit, and the league made the obvious decision to shut it down, and we were hopeful we'd get to play, but, we never got to play that game. So I was just hungry to keep playing, and then get a call from Digit Murphy, and she's like, let's go play for the Six. And it was an obvious choice. I was like, yeah, of course. I'm not done yet.
Of course. So you chose to come to Toronto. We're happy to have you. And the cool thing about this is you didn't get to play for the Cup for the Boston team, but we're back in Boston playing for the Cup. Talk about that and what that means to you.
It's like surreal, right? Like, we didn't get a chance to finish in Lake Placid, and we were just on an absolute tear. I mean, we were rolling, right? It was a 4 in a row, ready to go, and obviously, had to shut down. And now it's like, couldn't get any more convenient for me. I'm a Boston girl. The rink's 10 minutes from my house. We get to play against Boston, who fortunately at Lake Placid, we got the win on them the first time. And it just you got to go through the best to get to the end, and I just can't wait to play them again and hopefully get to the championship.
Yeah, and for those of our listeners, we play on March 26th on NBC Sports at 5 o'clock versus Boston, number 1 seed Toronto, number 1 seed, count it, regular season champions, number 1, because we're crowning ourselves regular season champions if no one else is going to, and against number 4, Boston. I want to go back to what you said about the commute to Connecticut, because I remember when Jess Kazumi played for us on the Boston Blades, she did the reverse commute. She went from Yale to Boston, and you know, that takes a lot of grit and commitment to the sport. Like, just talk about your work-life balance when that happens. Like, tell viewers about the schedule, the grueling schedule that you have when you make that decision to go play in Connecticut.
Yeah, I think that, you know, being a college, you know, student athlete prepares you pretty well in terms of like time management, that you know what you have to sort of get done in order to do sort of extracurriculars. Like, obviously, when you're in college, you know, your academics come first and your studies. At least that's how I always, you know, sort of put it. And then, you know, hockey is the extra. So if you want to, you know, be a successful athlete, you need to take care of the school side of things. So that's sort of how I compartmentalized it with work. It was like, okay, this is my work, this is my studies. These things have to get done at work in order for me to be able to play, you know, hockey. So the commute was tough. I would go into the office early on Tuesdays so I could leave an hour earlier than I was supposed to. So I would go in at like 7:30, and leave around 4 to sort of beat a little bit of the rush hour, drive down to Connecticut, so I could make practice. I think practice is at like 8 o'clock at night probably. So drive down.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, play, practice.
And then drive back.
Yeah, and then Tuesdays drive back. So I'd get back at like 1 in the morning. You know, go to bed, sleep. Like, I was able to sleep in a little bit and go into work a little bit late on Wednesdays, and then you know, stay a little bit later. And then Thursday night, go back down and then stay in Connecticut. And I was fortunate enough that we had an office in Greenwich, Connecticut. So I was able to work out of Greenwich on Fridays, at least a day or two a week.
It's incredible. Like, to me, I don't think people understand what it takes to be a women professional athlete, have a career, and how awesome you guys are. You're a Middlebury grad, you know, top of the class at Middlebury. You come, now you're really committed to your professional sports career. It's a grind and it's a commitment, you know, and it kind of like harkens me back to the early days, like when I was coaching in like 1987, 88. Like, I got paid $2,500 to coach. And I was like, oh my God. But, you know, you're still there every day. You're still recruiting. You're still on the ice practicing. And I wasn't commuting like you were, like 3 hours, but it's the same thing. You're doing it for the love of the sport. You're doing it for the love of the game. And I don't think that our viewers, like, they look at pro sports, right? And they're like, oh, they're pros. You ain't pros yet. Talk about how important it is for you as an athlete to continue to commit to this for the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to be realistic with where, you know, women's hockey is. And I mean, I love everything about the NWHL, but like, at the end of the day, it's only been 6 seasons. So with any business, like, there's growing pains, and you need to sort of build the foundation before things will take off. So for me, like you said, like, I'm committed to playing because I love the game and I just want to keep playing, and I don't want it to be done. And, you know, to take a year or two off and think that it's over, and then get the chance to be part of a team again and to compete. And to me, nothing feels as good as like playing in a game, scoring a goal. Like, I don't have another feeling that I'm like, that feeling is equivalent to doing something at work, right, or, you know, in my personal life. It's like that feeling, like you're just chasing. So it's when you know, people will be like, oh, it's crazy that you did it for a year. And then it's like, I can't believe we went back and decided to do the community again for year 2. And it's like, I just want to play hockey. And, you know, to your point, to build this foundation for other people, that obviously with the eventual goal that people don't have to do that women's hockey players can just be women's hockey players, and that they don't have to commute 3 hours and have a different job. But to me, that is sort of years away, and I'm willing to, help build that foundation until it gets there, until we're able to, pay people full time. And we've already made huge strides. We're going to be on NBC Sports for the semifinals and the finals, and that's just something that wouldn't have happened a couple years ago. So,
yeah, and it just hearing you speak, like, first of all, it gives me chills because we need more people like you, Fluke, to sacrifice and to just love the game like you love it. And I look at women's sports, and I don't know how you feel about this, but we had a talk last night on our nonprofit Zoom that a couple of the players are on, and we talked about the future of women's sports. And something that came up was, you have two different models, and you're in business, right? I don't think people know yet. We haven't gotten to the fact that you're like a badass investment banker. Like, that's just another whole topic that just heightens. Like, that's one of the reasons why I wanted you. I'm like, investment banker, like, wakes up at 5 a.m. and like does all her like lifting and stuff.
Management.
She's with us.
I'm in banking, but I'm in wealth management, not banking.
All right. Okay, whatever. It's a career that to me is just like off the charts. You got to be really smart and you got to be an animal. I don't know, but anyways, that's what I think it is. Anyways, you can explain that later. But my point is that we were talking about the NWHL and a sustainable business model, and we can speak to that in a minute. But I was saying, we almost have to do sport, not almost, we do have to do sport differently, right? I think that right now men's sports is an entertainment product. And I look sometimes as women as, yes, it's an entertainment product, but it's also a leadership brand. And we're building leaders, and we're leaders in the community, and we're leaders in the media, and we're the models for the future. So now, how do you brand that and make money? And I think that there's lots of opportunities to do that. So talk a little bit about, that concept from a business perspective, and, what you think about the sustainable business model, and is it coming, and what would your projections be based on your fact that you've played in the sport for so long?
Yeah, I think like our business model, and I think we're really fortunate to be so kept in the loop, and to be on these type of calls, and to have the transparency that the players get into the business model. I think I didn't expect to be so involved in sort of learning about the investors, but I mean, we had multiple calls with our investors, with JoJo, with Miles, to explain sort of what the league is doing and where the league is heading. And obviously the Toronto team is privately owned. The Boston team's privately owned as well. And I've had the fortune to play for both of them. And it's a huge difference when the team is privately owned. Just having the satisfaction from the investors to say, like, I'll support you with whatever you need to get better. And to have the like extra meals and the just being taken care of, and to know that you're taken care of, I think goes a long way with the players. And I know that's the business model for the rest of the league, and to get all of the teams privately owned. And I think that's what's sustainable. That's what, sort of the Big Four does as well. That's how the other leagues operate. So to me, that makes the most sense for long-term growth.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you touched on it, and I just want to emphasize it's a collaboration, right? It's not the league owns the players or the franchise owns the players. Of course, they own their rights. But I think what is really crucial and critical for women's sports is to have that collaboration, to educate you guys. When I talk about education, inclusion, and empowerment for women, part of that education piece, for me anyways, and I know the owners agree, is educating you guys, right? It's educating you about what the business model looks like. I think the disconnect with a lot of people out there right now is that they think that it's all about just paying players salaries, right? And of course, that's the goal. But where's the revenue stream coming in, right? And I think, so you're an you're in wealth management, and, talk about from a business perspective, revenue versus expenses, just to educate people on how important, like, a P&L is, right? I don't think people understand where women's sports fits in. And I don't know, just your thoughts. Nothing's right or wrong. Yeah,
I didn't even touch on that, but we do have the 50-50 revenue sharing with sponsors. And I think at Lake Placid in the 2 weeks, like, I can't even count the number. We had so many sponsors. I remember walking into a room and getting this like swag bag from 15, 20 different sponsors, and I think that's a huge part of it. And yeah, like in terms of the business world, like when wealth managers, they work off of commission. It's the same thing. It's sort of like not about the base salary, but it's about those sort of, commission dollars. That makes the huge difference. And I think that'll make a huge difference. Like you said, it's not just about the salary, but also the money we can bring in with the sponsorships and the revenue.
Yeah. And as we grow, I think so, and, full transparency, I think everyone knows this, like, as you get the sponsorships, you have to balance it between the revenue. So for revenue for sports, you get your ticket sales. This year, we ain't getting any, right? You get your merch. We did pretty well on the merch. You got your television rights. We don't get money from television rights. We actually have to pay them to be on television through our sponsorships. Well, it's a collaboration. Like they give you deals. Like, you're looking at the PWHPA. I'm sure they're not paying to rent out Madison Square Garden. Like they're doing, collaborations with those NHL teams. But I think it's important for the viewers to understand that when a sponsor comes in, you got to offset your costs too from a business perspective. So until you get as many sponsorships as your expenses bring in, we're not making a lot of money. And that to me is what people haven't been educated about. They think that all of a sudden you get like $1 million from Secret, like PWHPA, and that goes to the players. Guess what? It doesn't. It goes to offset all the costs that associate. I'm sure some of it goes to the players, and maybe they have a different deal. I don't know than us, but I know how we work is like a real business. Revenue in, expenses out. Did we lose or win? Make money. So, anyways, I went off on the tangent of business, but it's really important, I think, that people understand that. And what better person than you, than a wealth management person, to talk about it. So, talk about your journey with your wealth management career, because I think people want to hear about you and what you're doing in your other job besides for hockey.
Yeah, agreed. And like I said, I think that had been explained to us well, so there was no misconceptions that like when we were on NBC Sports that we were going to get paid for being on it. It's like, no, we get to be on NBC Sports. Like that's the difference. So that's exactly what everyone needs to understand. Yeah.
So talk about your like what you do for a living. Like how'd you like, I think there's a lot of young girls that aspire, to be rich and famous, right? That's like rich and famous. But I think what they neglect is understanding what careers can make you more wealthy, let's say. So you chose to get into the wealth management field. How can little girls that aspire to be like that? When do you start wanting to do that? How did you want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll take it back a little bit and just, I think part of the reason, I love the game so much is the opportunities it's given me and the ability to, travel. And, Middlebury is a great school, and I don't think I would have gotten into the school without additionally having, hockey. And so, sort of using that to, get into the best. That was always my plan, get into the best possible school and also get to play hockey. That was, that was first. And, I'm a first generation college student. So that was just super important to me. And then when I graduated, I was an economics major, so I went to a liberal arts school. I truthfully didn't, know I wanted to work for a bank and get into wealth management. I did, again, through hockey, I did have a friend that I grew up playing boys hockey. And I actually met him. I was a waitress at a summer job, and I waited on his table, and he was like, "Oh my God, it's Emily," and like absolutely loved me because of, I played with the boys and it was checking and I wasn't afraid, and I, just like loved my tenacity and how hard I worked. And he was like, "You should come, do an internship with me at UBS. I work in wealth management." And I was like, "Yeah, 100%. That's amazing." And it's funny that how things go back to, hockey and the opportunities. But, I just saw that, his job, he went to another NESCAC. He was a Bowdoin graduate, and just saw what he did and was like, I can do this. Like, I have the skills to do this. Like, you know, it's wealth management is very much, it's client facing. It's all about, you know, people. And, you know, I might not have some of the like hard technical skills of finance, but, you know, I've worked on the interpersonal skills, and I love working with people. So I was like, yeah, this is something I could definitely do. So I was in sales in Boston for a short period of time, and was sort of just looking at wealth management opportunities, and then, you know, got a chance actually as a temp at First Republic Bank. And I was like, I'm going to take this temp position, like temp to hire. Like, I know I can do that. Like, I think just hockey gives you so much confidence in yourself that you're like, if they give me a chance, I'm going to make it. I'm not worried about it. So yeah, took the opportunity within, you know, 3 months, became a full-time hire, you know, sort of started at the bottom as a client service associate working with a wealth manager. And then last year joined the management team. So now I'm a manager of the office that I started in.
That's a great story. Oh my God. I get chills just thinking about, because you know why? Because, you know, and you see this all the time, and you know this because all the studies show that if a woman has 90% of the things on her resume, she's like, oh, I don't have the 100. But if a guy has 20%, they're like, I can do that, and I can go be the president. So, you know, good for you for having the confidence. And I so think that hockey teaches that and sports teach it. So how important is it for little girls to go into sports, not even hockey?
I think it's so important. I think it builds these skills, and I think your confidence really is everything, and to believe in yourself. And then also, like, when you're at work and the intangible skills it teaches you, it's like just showing up for meetings on time, like having those time management skills. Like, people who do sports, they know, like, they need to get done X so that they can go to practice. Like, you know, whatever, even if it's just like making their bed or, you know, finishing their homework, like, you learn those skills so that you can do something, you know, fun. You know, that's how you have to take that mentality to work. And you can't teach people to show up to things on times. And, you know, they might, you know all this, you know, finance, they might know the technical skills of finance, but like the intangible skills, I think sports I think it's so important for everyone to play a sport and to learn those skills.
I couldn't agree more. And I just think that intangible is so valued in business, and there's such a connection to it. And the other thing that I always say, having thick skin, like having a conversation and not going away and being like, you know, you're a team player, you know, You know what the goal is, right? And it's like, of course you can have words with people, you know, but you keep moving on. And that's what sports teaches you. And I think girls especially, sorry, I have 6 kids, and I see the difference between the way girls and boys, you know, take criticism, you know, and I think that's the way they're socialized, but that's another conversation. But at the end of the day, I think sports teaches that. So I think you're right.
Yeah. And like you said, the teamwork aspect is just like, when you're in business, like, just being willing to help out and to understand, like, you're trying to grow the business and you need to do that together. Like, I just think that's obviously, you know, sports teaches you how to have teamwork.
Well, I can't believe it's already been a half an hour. We're going to wrap this up, but anything that you'd like to tell the listeners and the viewers, because we're on Zoom too, you know, anything that we left out?
No, I think we covered everything. I think the only thing I would say is just make sure you tune in. Like you said, March 26th, 5 p.m. The Six is going to be bringing it. It's going to be an exciting game, and I can't wait.
Yeah, baby. I got to get my tiny hands ready. Yeah. So how can people find you? Like, are you on Twitter? Are you on Insta? What are you on?
Oh, yeah. I am on Twitter. I believe it's Fluke, just at Ep.11. Don't get confused. My number is 12 now, but I was 11 for a while. And also on Instagram is the same, is Fluke11 as well. So send me a follow.
Follow her. Follow the T6 at the Toronto 6 on Twitter, at the Toronto 6 on Insta, on Facebook at Toronto 6, and on TikTok. We're on TikTok now at Toronto 6. And shout out to our interns and everyone that does our social media. They're awesome. You guys, I just want to say, Emily Fluke, thank you for being on the podcast. This is Digit Murphy for the Six Fix podcast. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Digit.